Yo, traders, how are we? Welcome back to Simply Forex. Hope you're all marvelous. Let's just get stuck straight in today, right? So we are going to look at a couple of US dollar pairs, right? We're going to take a look at Aussie dollar, US dollar, and New Zealand dollar, US dollar. And we're going to look at them purely from a price action point of view. Because there are a couple of trades that I am looking at personally. And I'm not in any new trades today, guys, right? So these US dollar pairs are potentially setting up, but we have got news coming out, right? So in half past the hour, we have got all of this news coming out of the US, right? So we got, important employment data and get my teeth in today, and important housing data and building permits as well, right? So a lot of information coming out for the US dollar pairs. And also, guys, I just on a Fed interest rate decision day, right? I always have like this, monkey on my back. Is that even a saying? I'm not sure, right? But it just the fact that we've got the Fed interest rate decision coming out later on, just makes me reluctant to enter anything pretty much, because obviously the Fed interest rate is directly associated with the US dollar. But you watch when that interest rate decision comes out, just everything, yeah, like Swiss franc, yen, euro, pound, like everything goes bananas. So it's just one of them days, guys, where we know we've got the Fed later on. And it's not only the Fed interest rate decision, right? Because usually this is as expected, right? It's usually that will be 4.5%. Rarely are interest rates missed. But it's all what's said in these economic projections and the statement, and also 30 minutes later, what is said in this press conference. This really makes things volatile in the market, right? So, yeah, must be careful of all that news coming out later. Even if you're in euro yen, right? Everything goes ballistic. So, yeah, that's why I'm not in anything today. But if we look at Aussie dollar, US dollar from a price action point of view, right, it is not breaking this level. Okay, so on the day chart, I appreciate we're in an uptrend. New Zealand US dollar is exactly the same, right? We're still in an uptrend, really. Okay, we haven't broken any, considerable low here, right? And we're still above the moving average 20 just. But we have a very nice bearish daily candle. Okay, fact. And on the H4, we have had a structure break, right? We was in this H4 uptrend, okay, and then bang, we are now in a downtrend. We're getting lower lows, lower highs. And what I really like, guys, is the fact that price has literally come back to this last low, and we have this nice big bearish H4 candle, right? So that's looking good for, potential sell trades, right? Back down to these lows, if not further. But US dollar news coming out in 26 minutes, and we got the Fed interest rate later. So US dollar pairs, are a bit out of reach today. And by the time the Fed interest rate comes out, I might be snoring, slightly dribbling. I'll be half asleep, right? It's like, 10 o'clock out here when that kicks off. Right, what else are we looking at? I also like New Zealand CAD, right? So what we're seeing right here, guys, is just this level is holding, this level through here, right? Thou shall not pass, in the words of Gandalf, right? And price just keeps hitting this level on the H4, and we keep getting bearish reactions, okay? Now, if you look at the day chart, you know, it's also, it hasn't broken this level, right? But it has broken these last significant lows in here, right? So we are getting lower lows. Okay, we've retraced enough to give this trade enough room to move into, right? And you know, just look at all the wicks on these candles, right? They're telling us that sellers are entering this market. Okay, so this suggests, you know, we could take price back down to these last lows. This is my personal opinion, right? But, you know, what do I want to see? You know, I probably want to see a more bearish H4 candle than that. If this candle finishes quite bearish, I may consider taking a sell trade on New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. But if it finishes like this, then I'm not interested really. All right, so yeah, they're the only things that I'm really looking at, guys. I am looking at a couple of euro pairs as well. But for me to, you can see my alarm, right? For me to consider these, this trade, I would need to break these last highs in here, right? Because we're firmly in a downtrend, right? We are. I would want to see a break of this level to buy Euro Aussie dollar. But why would I want to do that? So if we go to the day chart, you can see, right, an uptrend, a nice retrace back to what was once resistance becomes support. And we got, you know, not a super bearish candle, really. That is a doji. But if we combine that candle with a H4 structure break, right, I would consider, you know, taking this higher for Euro Aussie dollar. And it's the same for Euro New Zealand dollar as well. Right, if we go to the day chart, right, we was in this, you know, scruffy price action, but bang, right? We've broken all of these highs in here. We're in an uptrend. We've retraced nicely towards a moving average 20. Got a bearish-ish candle, right? Can we take price back up to here? Again, if we look at the H4, right, if we get a break of these last highs in here, because this is proven to be good resistance, right? Get a break of that level, you know, I would consider buying back up to these last highs in here. All right, guys. So yeah, that is everything that I am looking at. But yeah, but guys, more importantly, what are you looking at? Don't be shy. Get as many questions or as comments as you like over to me, and we will take a look at them, guys, right? In fact, let's scroll down and see who's in the house. So Lucky Gupta, hey, Brett, afternoon all. Hi, how are you, Brett? Cynical 718, hello from New York. New York. Shall I do my New York impression? Because I lived outside New York for about a year. I lived in Connecticut. And this is my New York impression. I don't know if I'm going to embarrass myself a great deal or it might be quite authentic. I've built it up. I feel embarrassed. A hot dog and a pretzel. I was like, what the fuck? That is my New York impression. I apologize, Cynical 718. Lucky Gupta would like to look at gold. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Hi, Jude. How are you? Michael. Hi, Tom. Traders. Hope you guys have a nice trading day. Thank you, Michael. You too. Kibria. Hi. Poop Hoppy. Hi. And Jude wants to look at Euro Aussie dollar as well. All right, so let's get stuck in. Let's take a look at these assets and let's just look at them from a purely price action point of view. Okay, so let's start with gold. And please, if anyone enjoyed my New York impression, please say so. Right, well, I've totally lost track, guys, after my New York impression. Gold, we are looking at gold, right? Well, I tell you what's a really difficult impression to do is the South African accent. Yeah, it's just very difficult. I don't want to attempt it. I'll embarrass myself further. But yeah, it's more like Hebrew, diplomatic immunity. I always get that off Lethal Weapon 4. Anyway, you haven't tuned in for my impressions. I also do a Sean Connery. But again, let's just focus on the trading. Right, gold, weekly chart. What are we seeing? So, okay, Pooh Poppy can't do a South African accent either. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Right, what are we looking at with gold? So, right, we know gold has been flying, right? This is the weekly chart. Gold is in this uptrend, right? This is pretty much where we're at, right? This is the last significant low. This is the last significant high, and we're in an uptrend, right? So we're in an uptrend, but we're at resistance, right? We had buyers here, we've had buyers in here. So this area, I know it's a big area, but that is an area of resistance. Now, no matter how much I want to, you know, if I wanted to buy gold, right, no matter how much, I just can't buy into resistance, right? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, right, to buy into a resistance level, because by the very definition, resistance level is for selling, right? It's a selling level. So, bearing that in mind, guys, it's a bit of a no trade, right? You know, even though we have a very bullish weekly candle, right? That is very bullish. But again, I just cannot buy into resistance. Now, let's look at the day chart. And look, there you go, right? It's come up and hit these last highs in here. And look at the daily reaction we've got, right? Now, the problem you're going to have, okay, is this, right? So, because you have a weekly resistance level, right, you're going to have weekly sellers, right? Because we are in a daily uptrend, right, clearly, you're going to get daily buyers. So what you might start to see is a lot of indecision, okay? Yeah, because you've got these two forces acting on the chart, right? You've got selling, buying. And look at straight away, we've got a doji form yesterday. It's looking pretty doji-like right now as well, right? But bear in mind, we also have the Fed interest rate decision. So this could go kapow or kapow, right? But if we didn't have the Fed interest rate decision, I would suggest we just get some complete and utter sideways action, guys, right? We would just get price action that doesn't go anywhere because you have those two forces acting on it. So gold for me is just to stay out, really. Okay. Yeah, for those reasons. So I hope that helps Lucky. We got another question down here from Jude. I've been looking at Euro Aussie dollar. So yes, me too, Jude. Great minds think alike. So yeah, as I said earlier, Jude, right, I'm looking at an uptrend. This is the day chart, right? These lows held and we're getting higher highs, right? And we've retraced to what was once resistance becomes support. We've got a reasonably bullish candle. Yeah. So what I would need to really confirm this trade to me would be a break of this level because we're in a H4 downtrend. Okay. So if I got a break, something like this, a nice bullish candle that broke through this level, got a bit of a retest, I would start buying this potentially back up to these highs. Whether that happens or not, right? If it happens, I have a trade. If it doesn't, I don't. As simple as that, guys, right? So let's see how this plays out today. But, you know, looking at price action right now, it's all looking pretty bearish, right? Bearish H4 candle, bearish top wick. Nothing is telling me to buy this. So, that brings me back, guys. You might have a trade idea, right? But, as in you might have a good direction that you want to take the trade. Like I want to buy Euro Aussie dollar. But until you get a setup, sit on these bad boys, right? Get a pretzel on a hot dog. I'm like, what the fuck? Sorry. Yeah, sit on these bad boys and amuse yourself like I do currently. So there you go, Jude. Aussie Trev, hey, how are you, mate? Pooh Poppy says, I can't do a South African accent either. Me neither. Christ, I'm really tempted to try. Brett says, don't give up your day job. No, thank you, Brett. Yeah, I'm not. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to leave Simply Forex and become an impersonator. Yeah, or somebody who does accents. Very niche. Don't think there's a big market there. Okay, so Lee James. Lee, haven't seen you for a while. How are you? So gold has been above the 50-day EMA for 112 consecutive sessions. That is how bullish gold has been. Yeah, and even if you didn't have the 50 EMA on your chart, guys, you just look at it. That just look at the weekly chart, right? That has been beasting. Look at it, right? Look at that. Right? Since October 23, that has pretty much been, so it's even been above the moving average 20 since then. If you look at the weekly chart, we actually get a break of the moving average 20 at this point, right? And it never goes back below the moving average 20, right? It flirts with it as dynamic support. Look at that. That is a beast. Now, what you want to do is enter here, right? Put $8 million on it and then sell up here and go live happily ever after. I'm joking. Well, I'm not joking, but if you had done that, yeah, well done. Right, what else are we looking at? Yeah, and totally agree with Lee James here. Sometimes no trade is the best trade. Totally agree, guys. One of the biggest skills that you must master at trading is sitting on your hands. Right? As a new trader, as when I was a new trader, right? And you as new traders, some of you experienced, but some of you are new traders, right? You want to be in the market. Every time you open, your screen and look at your charts, you are gagging to trade, right? That is a very bad place to be, right? But every new trader's like it. Every trader I've ever mentored, they're like, Tom, I need to trade. It's like crack, right? Not that I've done that, but, the editor has, and he told me. I'm only joking. Don't condone any of that. Anyway, right, tangent. So, yeah, you want to be in the market. You constantly want to trade. You have to break that. You have to break that cycle, right? All you want to do is trade the opportunities that the market presents to you. And that is according to your strategy. Right? And that's it. If your strategy says that's a setup, you take it. If there isn't one, sit on your hands, do nothing. Well, don't do nothing. You can do other things, but you get the idea. So yeah, to give you an idea, Pooh Poppy, I've been sitting on my hands all week. My hands are getting numb, right? So Pooh Poppy currently has purple hands, but that is exactly what you need to do. Afternoon, Heath, how are you? Okay, we've got a question here from Florencio Emmanuel. Beautifully pronounced, I'm sure. Aussie dollar, Swiss franc. Let's take a look. So guys, with this one, let's do a top-down approach and let's do it together, right? I'm going to keep my levels in. Okay, so Aussie dollar, Swiss franc, we're all going to analyze this together using price action. Let's see what everyone thinks of this trade, right? Now, So the first question is this, guys. Please leave your answer in the live chat. Don't be shy. There's no such thing as a wrong answer. Let's just all get involved, right? And this is how you should look at charts, guys, right? So let's start with the weekly chart. So on the weekly chart, as you can see, right? Well, no, I'm not going to help, actually. Just weekly chart, guys. Please leave your answer in the live chat right now. Would you buy, sell, or stay out of this market? So everyone, right now, guys, get involved. Would you buy, sell, or stay out of this market? I'm going to have a quick... Oh, I haven't got a drink. That's very upsetting. Right, so Heath would stay out, Pooh Poppy stay out, Daniel would stay out, Kibria would sell, Brett would sell, PJ would sell, hi Marky Mark. Phantom FX would sell, Aussie Trev would sell. Right, okay, so it's pretty unanimous, guys, right? So I say unanimous. We've got a few stay outs and we've got a few sells, right? Now, it's difficult to not want to sell this market because, again, if we just focus on the pillars of price action, right? This is all I teach, guys. Price action, price action, price action, price action with a sprinkling of price action, right? Now, this is in a downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows, right? Again, let's just deal in facts. Fact, that is in a downtrend. I don't think Warren Buffett could disagree with you, right? And according to every textbook you've ever read about trading, it's in a downtrend, right? So we want to be with trend. We want to sell the market, right? But we need to look at more factors. Another factor is support and resistance, right? Now, let me keep zooming out. So this level here, right, has proven to be a good level of support and resistance, okay? And at that level, we have had a nice big bearish candle, right? So it's there's a little bit of a bottom wick on it, right? There is, but it's very difficult to suggest anything other than sells, really, according to all of that information, because we also have lots of room to move into as well, right? But I would have to agree with the sellers. You know, it's a sell trade for those reasons. Downtrend, bouncing off resistance, bearish candle, room to move into, right? Now, let's look at the day chart, right? And let's do exactly the same thing. But let's first of all look for your answers, guys. So on the day chart, so same question, but on the day chart, would you buy, sell, or stay out of this market? Everyone, please get involved. Right, so we've got a buy. We've got still stay out for Daniel. We've got a sell from PJ. We've got a stay out from Heath. And we've got a sell from Brett. We've got a stay out from Marky Mark. Stay out from Aussie Trev. Stay out Pooh Poppy. Kibria, stay out. Right, so we've got lots of stay out. Yeah, so the majority is stay out, a couple of sells and one buy, right? Now, again, yeah, this is not my opinion. This is not what I think. What I'm about to show you are facts, right? So that's how you should trade, guys. That, you know, there shouldn't be any, I mean, of course, gray is going to come around now and again, but it should be very black and white trading, right? Don't over confuse it. Now, The thing here is, right, well, no, let's just analyze the market, right? So we are, at this point, we're in an uptrend. We broke these highs, we were getting higher highs, right? And then bang, all of a sudden, this candle here breaks these lows. We're in a downtrend, okay? So we're in a downtrend, right? We do have dynamic resistance. We've got the moving average 20 here. So are we bouncing off of resistance? Yes, we are, right? So we're in a downtrend. We want to sell. We're bouncing off resistance. And do we have a nice big bearish candle? Yes, we do, right? The only but here is this level, right? It's proven to be, you know, even if I drag this left, guys, right, you can see it, you know, lines up with this low, and these lows here. So we know it's a good support level, right? And you can see price bouncing off of that level now. So that's the only reservation I would have, that, you know, can we sell into this support? And only for that reason, I would stay out of the market. Right now, let's say we did want to sell this trade, right? Because let's be honest, weekly was pretty unanimous, right? And daily has ticked most of the boxes, right? So let's try and now find an entry, right? Let's go to the H4. Right. So I've got another question for you guys, right? Christ, you're probably thinking, Tom, I haven't come on this channel and look, you know, to be schooled and asked loads of questions. Well, sorry. Well, no, I'm not sorry. It's good. We're learning, right? So the question is, what trend is the H4? Right? So everyone right now, guys, get involved. What trend is the H4? Phantom FX, this is a reverse Q&A. Yeah, that's exactly that. I've switched it on you. And Lee, I'll take a look at US dollar CAD, no problem. Right, so Brett is suggesting uptrend. Kibria uptrend, Phantom FX bullish for sure. Heath Hayden ranging, Ugis bullish, Marky Mark up, Lee James bullish, slightly bearish from Pooh Poppy. Too many dojis from Daniel stay out, PJ down, Aussie Trev up. Do you know what I mean? Current trend bullish, down. There you go, right? You have answered your question yourself, guys, right? Now, it is that even I'm stuck, guys, right? Because you can argue both here, right? Now, let's just follow higher highs and higher lows. Right? Now, would you agree with that? Difficult not to, right? We're getting higher lows, higher highs, even that one, right? So therefore, at that point, we are in an uptrend. So by definition, it becomes a downtrend when we break the last previous high, low, bear with me, when we break this last low here, right? So bearing that in mind, uptrend, 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 and then bang, we've broken that low and the body of the candle has closed. We're in a downtrend, right? So again, Aussie dollar, Swiss franc, a lot of things are pointing to a downtrend, right? Or pointing to us to sell it. But there's still a few buts with this trade. Like, you know, we've got to a point, you're probably thinking, Tom, why don't you want to sell it? Because I actually know the monthly chart as well, right? But looking at the facts on a chart, right, we are still above this moving average 20, right? And we're bouncing off this grey zone. Look at that level. Support, resistance, support, right? So we know this is a good support level and price is bouncing off it. So even if we do want to sell this, we don't want to sell into that, right? And buys were off the table because weekly and daily told us everything was so bearish, right? So, it's difficult to sell it because of where we're at, and we don't want to buy it because of the higher time frame. So what would we need to see? For me, I would need to see a break, of these lows, and we're already in a downtrend, but just a break of these lows and a break of this grey support level, right? Then we have a bit of free air, right? We've got a nice bit of room to move into down to the next potential support level. So that is we've been talking about sitting on your hands until they're purple. And this is a perfect example of this, right? Wait for buyers to give up, right? You're still seeing buyers at this level. Look at the candles. Again, it's not me making it up, it's fact. Look at those candles. They are buying candles, right? We're getting a little bit of indecision now because we're back at these highs. But I don't want to start selling from here because we know we're selling into buyers, right? So wait patiently for the market to for the buyers to completely give up. Once these buyers give up in here, right, they're like, right, sellers win, I'm out. And you can imagine how many stop losses there are in here as well. Once that comes tumbling down, taking out all these stop losses as well, you're going to see a bit of momentum with that sell trade. And that's what I'd be waiting for, guys, right? And that could take, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. You know what I mean? It could take days, right? So be it. Wait for it. News, yeah. Obviously, I've chatted all the way through the news as usual. Let's take a quick look at the news, guys. Right, so all bad again, pretty much for the US dollar, right? But it totally didn't care about bad news yesterday. Those of you that joined me for the live stream yesterday, you remember how bad that US dollar news was. And US dollar was crazy strong yesterday, right? Pound US dollar sell trade that I was in killed it, right? Now, this is predominantly bad apart from this. And that is only marginally better, 246 to 245, right? So we are getting some real crappy numbers come out of the US. But let's see if it just ignores that news. Let's have a look at the H1. Right, again, we're seeing a bit of US dollar strength, right? It's just ignoring bad data. Let's have a look at Euro US dollar. Yeah, we're just seeing a bit of US dollar. I mean, we'll wait for this candle to finish, but initially we're seeing this, right? We're seeing US dollar strength. So the US dollar, let's have a look at US dollar CAD. Okay, now this is bearish, right? That is CAD strength. Let's have a look at US dollar Swiss franc. Yeah, US dollar strength, right? So the US dollar is just shrugging off bad news and it's remaining strong. But let's go and take a look at US dollar CAD because that was pretty much the only pair where it wasn't. And we are seeing a strong Canadian dollar right now, right? And this, funnily enough, this is exactly what who asked about US dollar CAD. This is exactly what Lee James was looking at, right? So again, let's look at a top-down approach. Now, weekly is in a downtrend and everything is bearish. Trend is downtrend, nice big bearish candle, but No value, very oversold. Okay, if we go to the day chart now, it has retraced into a nice area of value, right? It has. It's retraced. We spoke about this yesterday, actually. Now, this is an interesting level for me, right? It's retraced to a really nice level, but I don't want to start selling that candle. Now, you're probably thinking, Tom, Christ, what do you need to see before you take a trade, right? And this would be it, right? Let's say the candle finished like this today, right? Obviously, we got fed. This could end up anywhere. But if we got something like this with that big weekly downtrend, daily's retraced into value pretty much. It's not far from the moving average 20. And we got a daily candle that finished like this, then I'd be interested in selling it back down to these lows, if not further, according to that weekly chart. Then I would look at H4 for entries, right? And that would be problematic, right? Because we are clearly in a H4 uptrend. And anything that pulls back into here, on the H4, you'd be looking to buy, right? So you would have conflict. You've got a daily downtrend. You've got a H4 uptrend, right? Straight away, things aren't pulling in the same direction. So it's a tricky one, US dollar, Canadian dollar, for that reason, right? So I would genuinely look for buys, around here, around the moving average 20. All right, but we're not getting that. So yeah, US dollar, Canadian dollar, higher time frames, it's a sell trade. H4, it's a buy trade, right? Now, for it to become a sell trade, it could be something as simple as this, right? We get this, Fed takes it back up to these highs, and then tomorrow we end up getting a break, right? We get a break of these lows, yeah, we can start selling, right? No problem. Back down to here, stops above here. So again, another lesson in you must be bloody patient, right? You have to wait for structure to break down, trend to be on side. You want things pulling in the same direction. Then you've genuinely, got a good trade on your hands, right? You're increasing the probability. And that goes for anything. If even if you trade the M15 chart, right, but you look at the H4 for direction, you want them two in the same direction, right? If you look at the day chart for direction, but you trade the H1, you want them pulling in the same direction in terms of trend. Maybe you look at the day chart and trade the H4. You want them pulling in the same direction, right? So bearing that in mind, let's say we look, this is H4. Let's say we looked at the H1 for entries. Now, you've got a pretty nice level to trade from. We are now breaking down in terms of the H1, right? We've broken this low here. If we get a retrace into here, moving average 20 comes round, that is a nice sell trade. And you've got lots of room to move into before you start hitting H4 support down here. So that makes sense to me in terms of a sell trade, right? And that combination, right, where you get a structure break, that is a clean structure break. So we've broken these lows. Then you get a retrace back into those lows here, right? And you get the moving average 20 coming round as well. In here, that is a nice setup, right? Stops above here, look to take price lower. Now, it doesn't matter what time frame that is on. If you get that combination, that is a really magical, little bit extreme. It's as magical as my New York accent impersonation earlier, right? That's how magical it is. But yeah, that setup's really nice. Okay. Yeah, so there you go, guys. That would be US dollar, Canadian dollar, Lee. I hope that helps. So Lee James is saying, I think US dollar Canadian dollar is possibly, let's bring it up on the screen. I think US dollar Canadian dollar is possibly shaping up for a corrective move to the upside before pushing down. We'll wait and see, but it's on my watch list for that reason. Yeah, I mean, you cynical 718, it was good. Thank you. If a fellow New Yorkian says my accent was good, then it's good. Now, generally speaking, with US dollar pairs, right, we're seeing US dollar pairs. If I go to any of them, right, if we go to the day chart here, they are all at key resistance levels, right? There's Euro US dollar, right? Let's have a look at Aussie dollar US dollar. We know it's just this resistance level. That all US dollar pairs are at a resistance level. Let's go down to US dollar Swiss franc, right? Support level, right? Let's go down to US dollar yen, right? You know, okay, but we're getting sort of higher highs here, right? Lots of bullish US dollar strength. So on the basis of looking at these currency pairs macroeconomically, then yeah, we can potentially see some US dollar strength come into the market. But again, a big if is the Fed, right? We've got the Fed later today. When the Fed has an announcement in the evening, it almost becomes a bit of a non-event trading day for me. Yeah, I'll be honest, right? I haven't taken a trade. You know, I'm seeing a couple of things set up, but you're just thinking Fed, right? And that's not me thinking about feeding myself. That is the Fed, the Federal Reserve, right? So yeah, tricky, guys. Guys, please can I ask everyone to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and please smash the like button. If you haven't already, please come join our free trading community. We have a free Discord channel. Come join it. All you need to do is click on the what's it called? QR code on the screen, guys. All right. So yeah, click on that. Also, what am I suggesting? Yeah, please come and check out our website, www.simply-forex.com. Check it all out. We've got some premium education on there as well. All right, guys, so we're going to call it a day there. Thank you very much for tuning in today, guys. I hope you have a great trading day, and I'll see you same time again tomorrow.